Now, I would love to understand your thought process of just how they're managing Shedeur. Is it a realistic situation for him to play this year, or what should we expect from your eyes?
Well, from what I'm told, Dylan Gabriel has been better, has played better, and is more ready, whatever that means, but this is what I was told. I think if you can sit and watch Flacco and understand...
The NFL is on fire right now, and it's all because Cam Newton just said the one thing owners never wanted the world to hear. In a single shocking statement, he exposed the truth behind Shedeur Sanders' draft, and the league has been spiraling out of control ever since. This wasn't just a hot take. This was Cam Newton, a former MVP, going public with claims that NFL owners secretly interfered in Shedeur's draft, making backroom promises and playing power games that completely flipped the outcome. Within minutes, Twitter, Instagram, and even TikTok exploded. Fans are asking if the draft was rigged, analysts are calling for answers, and owners are allegedly furious that Cam let this slip. This is bigger than a sports story. It's a scandal that threatens the very reputation of the NFL, and the deeper we dig, the messier it gets. Because Cam didn't just throw shade. He named names, hinted at cover-ups, and put the league in a position it may never recover from. But what exactly did he reveal? And why are owners scrambling behind the scenes in full-blown panic mode? Stick with me, because once you hear the rest, you'll understand why the NFL may never be the same again. When Cam Newton walked into that podcast studio, no one expected him to drop the kind of bombshell that would send shockwaves through every corner of the NFL. He wasn't wearing the usual flashy outfit or even his trademark smirk. He looked focused, almost tense, like a man who had been holding on to a secret for far too long. And then, with the cameras rolling and millions watching, he let it out. The Shedeur Sanders draft wasn't clean. Don't let these owners fool you. It was set up from the start. The room went silent. Even the hosts didn't know how to react. But within seconds, the clip hit to Twitter, and hashtags like NotCamExposed and Shedeur Truth were trending worldwide. Fans started spamming 8NFL, A Browns, and even a Deion Sanders demanding answers. How could the league allow something like this to happen? If what Cam was saying was true, it meant Shedeur Sanders' path to the Browns wasn't a miracle story. It was a calculated power move. Sources close to Cam revealed he'd been sitting on this information for months, hearing whispers from scouts, insiders, and even former teammates still connected to front office circles. According to him, multiple owners were terrified of Shedeur landing in the wrong city. They believed he wasn't just a star quarterback in the making. He was the future face of the NFL, a generational talent who could revive a struggling franchise almost overnight. That kind of power scared them. And here's where it gets darker. Cam claimed owners began working behind closed doors to ensure Shedeur would end up in Cleveland. Why? Because, according to Cam, the Browns were desperate. Their attendance numbers were slipping, fan trust was low, and ownership was quietly panicking. The league supposedly nudged things to make sure Shedeur was placed where he could save not just a franchise, but an entire TV market. Immediately, this ignited chaos online. Fans of teams like the Raiders, Falcons, and even the Broncos blasted the NFL for possibly passing on their chance to draft Shedeur just to satisfy business deals. Our Raiders Nation posted, "So we got robbed because the league wanted to sell tickets in Cleveland? Nah, this is corruption, plain and simple." Others flooded Shedeur's own Instagram with comments like, "You didn't even get a fair draft, bro," and "This changes everything." But here's the part nobody saw coming. Cam didn't stop there. He hinted that one owner, in particular, played the biggest role in the decision, without naming names. The moment he leaned back and smirked, saying, "Y'all know who I'm talking about. He's been pulling strings for years." Fans went into detective mode. Reddit threads popped up within minutes, with users dissecting every possible candidate. Was it Jerry Jones? Was it the Haslams themselves? Or maybe a more powerful owner like Robert Kraft pushing for stability in a chaotic season? And if you think the drama ends there, think again. Because right after Cam's comments hit the airwaves, Insiders began leaking supposed emails and texts suggesting conversations between NFL executives and Browns management about Shedeur's placement. Were these real? Were they fabricated? Nobody could tell, but it didn't matter. The internet believed them, and the damage was already done. Now, the NFL is facing a full-blown credibility crisis. ESPN had emergency panels debating whether the league had finally been caught in a rigged moment. Stephen A. Smith even went live on Instagram, screaming into the camera, "If this is true, if these owners interfered in this draft, then we need a congressional investigation today. This ain't just about football, this is about trust in the game we love." The Browns tried to downplay the chaos, issuing a short statement on X. Shedeur Sanders is a Cleveland Brown because of his hard work, talent, and undeniable leadership. Any suggestions otherwise are false. But by then, the fire was already out of control. Clips of Cam Newton's confession spread like wildfire. Fans stitched it into TikToks, edited it over dramatic music, and even mocked up fake courtroom memes of NFL owners in prison jumpsuits. Meanwhile, sports radio shows couldn't stop dissecting it. On The Herd, Colin Cowherd practically lost his voice shouting about how Cam was jealous of Shedeur's success. On First Take, Molly Karam had to cut Stephen A. off multiple times as he roared, "This ain't about jealousy, this is about integrity." Then came the whispers about sponsors. Insiders claimed major networks like Fox and CBS were furious. Why? Because if Cam's story was true, it meant the NFL wasn't just selling football, it was selling narratives. Rigged narratives. Advertisers had poured billions into a pure product. And if fans stopped believing in the fairness of the league, that money could evaporate overnight. But Cam wasn't done. He doubled down, going live on Instagram the next night. He sat in a dimly lit room, cap pulled low, and told his audience, "Y'all don't even know the half of it. Owners were calling each other like it was Wall Street, making deals on Shedeur before the draft even happened. The boy is talented, but the league wanted him in Cleveland for business." That's the truth. Fans watching the stream lit up the chat. Some begged Cam to name names. Others accused him of lying just to stay relevant. But the damage was irreversible. Every time Cam spoke, more and more fans started to wonder if maybe he was telling the truth. And the pressure on Shedeur Sanders himself? Unimaginable. Reporters swarmed him at practice, asking if he believed his draft had been manipulated. His teammates tried to shield him, but cameras caught his frustration boiling over. One clip showed him walking off the field muttering, "Man, I just play ball. I didn't ask for none of this." That one sentence went viral, only adding fuel to the controversy. Meanwhile, Deion Sanders, never one to shy away from defending his family, stepped into the storm. He tweeted, "Shedeur Sanders earned everything. Don't let jealousy rewrite history. Truth always wins. Believe that. Coach Prime." But even his legendary status couldn't calm the growing suspicion. By the end of the week, the NFL was cornered. Journalists demanded a formal statement from Roger Goodell, and owners were reportedly in a frenzy, furious at Cam Newton for blowing the whistle. But here's the twist. Instead of silence, Cam suggested he wasn't the only one willing to talk. He hinted that other former players, maybe even a current scout, were ready to step forward. So now, the league faces its darkest question yet. Is this the beginning of a massive cover-up unraveling, or is it just Cam Newton stirring chaos to stay in the spotlight? Either way, the truth, or the perception of it, has already broken out. And if Cam really does reveal the name of the owner he's alluding to, then we might see the biggest scandal in NFL history unfold right before our eyes. Stay tuned, because Part 2 only gets uglier. The fallout from Cam Newton's revelation was immediate, but what came next turned the fire into a full-blown inferno. Behind the closed doors of NFL boardrooms, owners were not just angry, they were furious. What Cam had done wasn't just spill gossip. He had challenged the very foundation of their power. According to a leaked report from a source close to the league office, multiple owners dialed into an emergency conference call within hours of Cam's Instagram Live. The tone, insiders say, was heated. One owner reportedly shouted, "This man is undermining our billion-dollar product." Another was said to have slammed his desk, demanding that Roger Goodell handle Cam, before things spiraled further. But here's the kicker. During that same call, whispers started about who among the ownership might have really orchestrated the so-called Shedeur Sanders placement. Some pointed fingers at Jimmy Haslam, the Browns' owner, while others hinted that Jerry Jones had pushed for it to protect TV ratings in smaller markets. And then there were those who believed Robert Kraft had played the long game, pulling strings to make sure the Browns became relevant again. What nobody expected was that bits and pieces of this call would leak. A supposed audio clip surfaced on Reddit, allegedly capturing one furious voice saying, "If Cam names names, we're cooked. Shut him up before it's too late." The authenticity of the clip couldn't be confirmed, but it didn't matter. Fans believed it. Within minutes, NFL cover-up started trending, and the narrative shifted from, "Is Cam telling the truth?" to, "What are the owners hiding?" Meanwhile, the media circus grew louder. ESPN, FS1, and even CNN were now covering the story. Analysts debated whether the NFL could ever recover if the draft was proven to be manipulated. One CNN anchor went so far as to compare it to the Black Sox scandal of 1919, when baseball's integrity was shattered. "If football is fixed at the ownership level," she said, "then this isn't just a sports story. It's a national scandal." Cam Newton, far from backing down, went live again. This time he wasn't alone. Sitting beside him was a former NFL scout who claimed he had seen things in the lead-up to the draft that didn't add up. He described how Shedeur Sanders' pre-draft meetings were too smooth, and how certain teams seemed to mysteriously back off just before draft night. The scout stopped short of confirming manipulation, but his words were enough to fuel conspiracy theories across TikTok and YouTube. Clips racked up millions of views with titles like "The Draft Rigged," "NFL Exposed," and "Shedeur Sanders and the Browns Steal Nobody Saw Coming." The Browns' front office scrambled to contain the damage. GM Andrew Berry called a press conference insisting, "We selected Shedeur Sanders because he was the best quarterback available, period. Any talk of manipulation is baseless." But reporters pressed harder, asking about leaked emails that allegedly showed correspondence between league execs and the Browns days before the draft. Berry denied everything but his nervous body language, tugging at his collar, avoiding eye contact, only made the speculation worse. And then, in a shocking twist, Deion Sanders himself addressed the controversy during a radio appearance. "Let me be clear," Primetime said, his voice cold and sharp. "My son got drafted because he earned it. Period. Don't you dare disrespect his grind. Cam needs to stop dragging people's names for clicks." While many applauded Deion for defending his son, others felt his words confirmed the league was circling the wagons, protecting its own. But Cam wasn't intimidated. Just hours later, he dropped a cryptic tweet. "Funny how fast the powerful get defensive. I still got receipts. Y'all ain't ready for them." Truth hurts. That one line sent social media into chaos. What receipts was he talking about? Was he sitting on documents, recordings, or inside testimony that could blow the lid off the NFL entirely? Meanwhile, fans of rival teams grew more hostile. Raiders Nation, Falcons fans, and even some Cowboys supporters began demanding investigations, furious that their franchises might have been cheated out of a fair shot at Shedeur. A Falcons HQ wrote, "If this is true, we got robbed. Y'all remember how we passed on Shedeur? Yeah, now it makes sense. NFL owes us answers." On top of that, sports betting platforms were dragged into the controversy. If the draft had been influenced, did that mean betting markets were manipulated too? Lawmakers in several states reportedly began quiet inquiries into the allegations, with one senator tweeting, "If the NFL draft isn't legitimate, this is a consumer fraud issue. Plain and simple." The tension reached its boiling point when Stephen A. Smith unleashed one of his most legendary rants live on First Take. Slamming his hand on the desk, he shouted, "This is the biggest story in sports right now. If Cam Newton has evidence, if the NFL tampered with that draft, then forget suspensions. Forget fines. People need to lose their franchises." Owners need to be held accountable just like players are. You can't suspend a man for gambling on games while letting billionaires rig the whole system. His words were clipped, shared, and replayed millions of times. Even celebrities weighed in. LeBron James tweeted, "Man, if this true, that's wild. Fans deserve better. Lekker, Shedeur truth." Rapper Meek Mill chimed in on Instagram Live. NFL owners moving like mob bosses. Respect to Cam for speaking up. But the real gut punch came when insiders leaked that several owners were actively exploring legal options to silence Cam. Some wanted to sue him for defamation, while others allegedly pushed Goodell to ban him from league events permanently. If true, it showed just how far the league might go to protect its image. And Shedeur, the young quarterback, found himself at the center of a media firestorm he never asked for. After a grueling practice, he finally addressed the controversy in front of a mob of cameras. Looking directly into the lenses, he said, "I can't control what people say. All I know is I worked hard, and I'm gonna keep working hard. That's all I can do. People can believe what they want." The clip instantly went viral, but reactions were split. Some praised Shedeur for staying humble. Others accused him of dodging the real questions. Either way, the storm around him only intensified. By the end of the week, the NFL had a full-blown credibility crisis on its hands. Sponsors were demanding explanations, lawmakers were circling, and the owners themselves were at war. And with Cam Newton teasing more receipts, the question wasn't just whether the NFL could survive this. It was whether the truth, if fully revealed, would burn the entire league to the ground. And just when you think it can't get any worse. Part 3 reveals a shocking insider leak that changes everything. If Part 2 was chaos, Part 3 was a nuclear bomb. Cam Newton's cryptic tweet about receipts wasn't just empty bravado, it was a warning. And when the so-called receipts finally dropped, the NFL found itself staring into the abyss. Late on a Friday night, Cam released a 12-minute YouTube video titled, "The Truth About Shedeur's Draft. They Don't Want You to See This." Within minutes, the video had hundreds of thousands of views. In it, Cam appeared in a dimly lit room, speaking directly into the camera. His voice was calm but loaded with intensity. "Y'all thought I was playing," he said. "I told you I had proof. And now, the world's gonna see it. This ain't about clout. This ain't about me. This about integrity. This about the league I gave my blood, sweat, and tears to. And what they're doing to these young men. It's disgusting." Then he dropped the bombshell. Screenshots of emails allegedly exchanged between NFL executives and the Browns ownership group just days before the draft. The subject line of one read, "Shedeur Placement Strategy, Confidential." In the body, one exec wrote, "Ensure Sanders lands in Cleveland. Ratings impact crucial. Coordinate with other clubs to back off public interest." Fans lost their minds. The comments section filled instantly. This is the biggest scandal since Spygate. So the league is rigged. NFL QBWB confirmed. Shedeurgate began trending across every platform. Twitter X turned into a war zone. Some fans demanded immediate investigations. Others accused Cam of fabricating evidence. But here's where things got wild. A former Browns employee anonymously contacted Pro Football Leaks on Twitter and confirmed the emails were real. "I worked in analytics with the Browns," the account wrote. That chain was circulating internally. Cam isn't lying. The NFL scrambled to respond, but every denial only made them look guiltier. Roger Goodell released a carefully worded statement. "The NFL has never manipulated draft outcomes. The emails in question appear to be fabricated, and we urge the public to be cautious." But by then, nobody was buying it. The media frenzy was unstoppable. CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News all aired segments about rigged drafts. ESPN hosted a 3-hour special where Adam Schefter and Mina Kimes dissected the emails frame by frame. And then Stephen A. Smith went ballistic again. Cam Newton just burned the house down. He screamed live on air, "If those emails are real, the NFL is done." You cannot have billionaire owners conspiring to handpick draft picks like pawns in a chess game. That is fraud. That is criminal. Somebody's got to pay for this. Even politicians joined the pile on. Senator Cory Booker tweeted, "If these allegations are true, the Justice Department needs to step in. Sports fans deserve fair competition, not rigged outcomes." Suddenly, what began as Cam's rant turned into a potential federal investigation, and then came the second bombshell. Cam revealed he wasn't alone. In the middle of the video, he played a voice note allegedly sent by a current NFL coach. The distorted voice said, "Cam ain't lying. The draft's been staged for years. This year, Shedeur was the priority. Next year, they'll pick another kid. It's all about ratings and control." The clip shattered whatever credibility the NFL had left. Reddit threads exploded with theories. Which coach was it? Was it Kevin Stefanski himself? Was it a rival coach sick of the system? TikTok sleuths slowed down the audio, analyzing tone, background noise, even the faint sound of a whistle in the clip. Some swore it sounded like a coach from the NFC East. Others believed it was an insider from the Patriots staff. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders tried to stay focused. But every press conference turned into a minefield. After one Browns practice, a reporter shouted, "Shedeur, did you know about the emails?" Shedeur, visibly frustrated, snapped, "I don't got time for this nonsense. I'm here to ball." That's it. The clip went viral instantly, sparking a debate over whether Shedeur was simply overwhelmed or hiding something bigger. Deion Sanders jumped back into the spotlight, posting on Instagram, "Don't mess with my kids. Don't mess with my legacy. The truth gon' come out. But don't drag Shedeur through the mud while grown men play politics." His video racked up millions of views, but critics argued Deion was dodging the real issue. The owners, meanwhile, were imploding. Reports surfaced of screaming matches during another emergency call. One insider told Bleacher Report, "This is the ugliest it's ever been. They're throwing each other under the bus, terrified someone's gonna flip and confirm it all." And here's where the story takes a darker turn. A whistleblower account on Twitter, supposedly run by a former league lawyer, dropped a chilling message. Cam only scratched the surface. The manipulation goes back over a decade. If I talk, it won't just be Shedeur. It'll be multiple drafts. He's not the first. He's just the one that blew it open. Fans were floored. Were other quarterbacks, stars like Joe Burrow or Trevor Lawrence, also placed by design? Sports podcasts went into overdrive. If they rigged Shedeur, they rigged others. Period, one host declared. The NFL is basically the Truman Show at this point. Sponsors started panicking too. A leaked memo showed at least 3 major brands considering pausing partnerships until the NFL could prove its integrity. If true, this meant billions of dollars were at stake. Meanwhile, Cam Newton, sitting at the center of the storm, doubled down. In an Instagram story, he posted, "Y'all think this ends here? No. This is just the beginning. More to come, way more. NFL can't hide forever." The internet exploded. The NFL was burning. Owners were scrambling, and fans were left wondering if they'd been cheering for a game that wasn't real. But the real twist. Word began spreading that Cam had an even bigger piece of evidence. Something so explosive it could implicate not just owners but top executives in the league office itself. According to one anonymous Reddit post, Cam's got recordings, actual phone calls, and if he drops them, it's over. If true, the NFL wasn't just in trouble, it was staring at total collapse, and as Part 3 came to an end, the question on everyone's mind was this: would Cam actually release those recordings? Or would the league find a way to silence him before the final blow landed? Because what came next wasn't just going to shake the NFL, it was going to decide whether the league survived at all. By the time Part 4 begins, the entire football world is locked in a frenzy. Social media is still on fire, with hashtags like #YouChingCam, Newton Exposed, Shedeur Draft Truth, and NFL corruption trending globally. But now, the story begins to spiral into even more dangerous territory, because Cam Newton doesn't stop with his first revelation. No, he doubles down, and this time he drags the NFL owners directly into the storm. According to a new leaked source Cam allegedly spoke with, several high-level owners had already agreed behind closed doors to keep Shedeur Sanders from landing in certain markets, specifically to avoid building another Deion Sanders-style empire. The source claimed owners were terrified of Deion's cultural influence bleeding into the NFL and worried that Shedeur's rise could fundamentally change how the league markets players. And this wasn't just speculation. It was backed, supposedly, by an anonymous executive who whispered, "The Sanders family doesn't just sell tickets, they move culture. That scares them more than losing games." The backlash was immediate. Fans began posting videos of themselves burning their team jerseys, calling for owners to step down. ESPN insiders hinted that emergency meetings were being held, while Shedeur Sanders himself simply posted a cryptic message. "They scared because I'm chosen. H him." That one post alone shattered the internet, receiving millions of impressions within hours and further fueling the conspiracy that the NFL was intentionally trying to bury his rise. Meanwhile, Cam Newton's position became even more complicated. Some analysts praised him as a truth-teller, finally exposing what fans had long suspected, that NFL politics run deeper than football. Others accused him of outright lying to stay relevant and damaging the credibility of Shedeur's future before he even steps on the field. The split opinion became another firestorm, with personalities like a Shannon Sharpe calling it the biggest crack in the NFL's image in a decade and our Pat McAfee show, debating whether Cam should be invited to testify publicly. Then came the most dramatic moment yet, a rumor that one powerful owner wanted to blacklist Cam Newton from ever working in the NFL again, in broadcasting or otherwise. But instead of silencing him, the threat only pushed him to drop another bomb. He claimed he had receipts. Cam promised to release documents, text messages, and even recorded phone calls from NFL insiders if the owners tried to bury him. And just like that, the stage was set for what could be the ugliest confrontation in modern NFL history. Would Cam actually risk it all to expose the league? Would Shedeur Sanders be used as the pawn in a war between players, owners, and power brokers? Or would the NFL find a way to shut this down before the truth ever reached the light of day? One thing was certain. The league had lost control of the narrative. What started as Cam Newton speaking his mind had spiraled into a cultural earthquake shaking the very foundation of professional football. But the real question was, what happens if Cam actually presses send on those so-called receipts? Stay tuned, because what's coming next could destroy careers, collapse franchises, and forever change the NFL's image in the eyes of fans worldwide. And now, with the NFL teetering on the edge of total chaos, the question hangs heavy in the air. What happens next? Cam Newton has promised to release receipts. Shedeur Sanders continues to stir the culture with just a single tweet, and owners are scrambling behind the scenes to stop what may already be unstoppable. Will the league's biggest power brokers risk everything to silence Cam? Or will this be the moment fans finally see the dirty truth about how NFL politics shape the careers of future stars? What we know for certain is this: the NFL has never been this vulnerable. Every headline, every debate, every viral post only makes the storm bigger. Shedeur's draft isn't just about football anymore. It's about power, legacy, and who really controls the game behind closed doors. So, we turn it over to you. Do you believe Cam Newton is telling the truth, or is he blowing smoke to stir controversy? Should fans trust the league's denials, or is there a cover-up unfolding before our eyes? Drop your thoughts below, because this story isn't just about Shedeur Sanders, it's about the future of football itself. Stay tuned. The next bombshell could drop at any moment. The next bombshell could drop at any moment.